Shalom, shalom, call Aloyim Yahweh Ba'ashim Yahushai, Ba'ashim Racha Kodash, and Shan Yukabad, Gadawala Requab, to Quanyam Nawa, Washalayakim Nawa. That's double honors to our apostles and elders of Great Millstone, Shalom, Waparakim, Labakayim, Shaliyasharala. And that's peace and blessings to the elect of Israel. And as always, may a double portion of the Holy Spirit be put upon all the brothers that are still offering their bodies as a living sacrifice, pushing out this word in truth and in sincerity. So in this video topic, I just wanted to speak about this phrase in Titus, the first chapter, and it's going to be in verse 9 at the bottom where it says, convince the gainsayers. And the inspiration was just because we had briefly mentioned this in the highways and byways. Once again, I like to write down topics that come out through the spirit out there and then, of course, bring it out throughout the week. And I usually mention this a lot, but I don't think I've ever made a video about it, even if I just mentioned it. But I wanted to go into it just so we can get a little bit more clarification about what that phrase actually means. So without further ado, Titus chapter 1, and we're going to start reading at verse 7. It says, for a bishop must be blameless, as a steward of the Most High, not self-willed, not soon angry, not given to wine, no striker, not given to filthy lucre, but a lover of hospitality, a lover of good men, sober, just, holy, temperate, holding fast the faithful word as he hath been taught, that he may be able by sound doctrine both to exhort and to convince the gainsayers. And you can definitely say that in this truth right now in these times we're all bishops. With that being said, these are attributes that we have to all put onto ourselves. We must put on these characteristics each and every single day. Now, with that being said, we have a job to do. We have to watch after the church, right? We have to feed the sheep of Yahweh Ba'ashim Yahushai. Now, it says to exhort and convince the gainsayers. Now, first and foremost, before we go into that word, because truth be told, I've never done it, and I don't even have too many precepts, but the Spirit was just on me to hit the button, so I did it. But first, just to explain it, you have 1/3 and the 2/3, and that's a prophecy that we're going to read. But with that being said, those lots have already been created. It's done, it's over before the foundation of the world. And that's why the scriptures say to put on as the elect, because we don't know if we are a part of that number, but we're striving to be. And as we strive to be a part of that number, then we're also fishing for those that are a part of that same lot. And so we teach this word in truth and in sincerity to those that want to hear it in truth and in sincerity. Some of those may be people that at one point they bucked up against the word. They may have even talked bad about it, talked bad about us, whatever they wanted to say behind their breath, over the laptop screen, maybe in person, maybe as they walk by, in their cars, no matter what it may have been, the situation is. But that person would be counted as a gainsayer. But the point we're going to make is that that person could possibly be a part of the elect. So you convince the gainsayer. Let's look up that word gainsayer, and it says antelego. Antelego. And it says someone that speaks against, gainsay, or contradict, to oppose oneself to one, decline to obey. And when you look up that word obey, it literally means to listen. That's the etymology of the word obey. It means to listen. Because when you obey somebody, that means you have to take heed to what they're saying in order to be in compliance, right? But our people, they do the exact opposite. They listen to us and then they do the exact opposite, which really means they're doing the opposite of the will of Yahweh Ba'ashim Yahushai. And we are to be his servant and do his will. But you have a lot of people that speak against what we're saying. They try to contradict. Really, they're adverse, They're adverse to what we're basically saying. But the scriptures say to convince that person. And why are we to convince the gainsayer? Because this gainsayer right here in verse 9 is someone that's actually a part of the elect. And so you strive to convince them in order to do what we're going to read right here. to plant a seed. This is the book of, let me see. I thought it actually said seed in it. Maybe not. I'm tripping. No, it doesn't. It says, there we go. 1 Corinthians chapter 3. And we're going to start reading at verse 4. And this is why we're out there. For while one saith, I am of Paul, and another, I am of Apollos, are ye not carnal? Who then is Paul, and who is Apollos, but ministers by whom ye believed, even as the Lord gave to every man? I have planted, Apollos watered, that's what it says. I have planted, Apollos watered, but the Most High gave the increase. And that's the point. But verse 7 says, so then neither is he that planteth anything, neither he that watereth, but the Most High that giveth the increase. And this is why you have to be spiritual, use wisdom. And it takes maybe, a few years, some growing in this truth to realize these particular situations. But you don't have to get angry and start yelling all the time at everybody that contradicts what you're saying, because Jake is going to be Jake. And even it's just human nature. Someone is not supposed to just always believe everything that they're told. I mean, of course, the spirit works, and that's a whole different vibration. The spirit can have somebody come up, hear it, and believe it the second they hear it. So it's completely different. But sometimes a seed is just planted, and the Most High Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai can use us men to plant seeds in the ears of the elect. So then maybe it's like, okay, I didn't get it. They may have been coming up against us and asking certain questions, and then all of a sudden they leave and they're still not sure. And the whole time you're thinking, well, that Jake's not going to get it. But you never know. And that's why, for me personally, I don't like to always say that. Sometimes you just in the spirit and like a lot of times you do, I'll say that. Sometimes you just know sometimes, like a nigga ain't going to get it. But at the end of the day, it's all up to Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai. And that's where you get Matthew the 13th chapter. The angels have to come back and, sort the wheat from the tares. But at the end of the day, we're planting that seed. That person in this scenario, they could go home that day, do a little bit more studying, and if they are a part of the elected before the foundation of the world, then the Most High is going to do something to create some inspiration in that person's life, make them go through some things, make them just even do a little bit more research themselves, watch some more videos. The Most High could just make a YouTube video pop up on that person's channel, and they just get interested because of the title. And then they think back to the conversation that they had with you and like, you know what? It's clicking. It's making sense. So now with that being said, I want to jump over to, I did say we would grab it, so let's do it. Zechariah, not Zephaniah. Zechariah 13, verses 8 and 9, it says, and it shall come to pass that in all the land, talking about Babylon the Great, right? In all the land, singular, America, Babylon the Great, saith the Lord, two parts therein shall be cut off and die, but the third shall be left therein. And that third, the 1/3, is a part of the elect that's made up of men, women, and children. Verse 9. And a part of that number could be some people that are those gainsayers that we must convince. And that's why we have to study. We have to be able to study. The scriptures talk about giving an answer for every man that comes up and basically asks, what is this? What are you doing? What are you dedicating your life to? Why are you out here every single Saturday? We have to be able to answer these questions, no matter what it is concerning the scriptures. Verse 9 reads, and I will bring the third part through the fire, and will refine them as silver is refined, and will try them as gold is tried. And we're going through that trial phase right now. They shall call on my name, and I will hear them. I will say, it is my people, and they shall say, the Lord Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai is my power. And the Lord is actually going to bring us through the fire. You see, that's when verse 9 says, and I will bring the third part through the fire. That's twofold. We're going through this fire right now spiritually with all the trials and tribulations that the Lord is putting us through, enabling us to call on his name for the purpose of building up our spirits and increasing our faith so that we can stand in these end days of Jacob's trouble. But then secondly, literally, the Lord is going to bring the third part through the fire. When those missiles are being shot off, then the chariots and the angels are going to, quote unquote, beam up the elect as the missiles are being shot. And that's the true definition of salvation, being saved. Then we can actually say that we are saved once that happens. And we're hoping and striving to be a part of that number. Now, this scripture just popped up in my head, so I'm going to get it. And this is also how you know, Old Testament, that, let me see, let me get it first. Proverbs 24, verse 7. Man, all of these are good. But second to the bottom, Proverbs 24, verse 7 says, wisdom is too high for a fool. He openeth not his mouth in the gate. So a man that's truly not going to get it, at the end of the day, the scriptures call him a fool. Stupid, literally, when you really just go into these words. That's what the Bible is saying. And you can tell, if you're a spiritual man, you can kind of tell when someone's just not going to get it. You know, and I kind of said it before that I don't like to say it too much because you never really know. But man, what's the word that the priest Zainala used on the highways and byways? We were talking to a man, or he was, and he said, I don't have time to deal with this dude. We're not dealing with I think he said we're not dealing with a sensible man. Man, I want to go back and get that word he said though, because it struck me and it's true. You have to make sure you're dealing first and foremost. You don't want to go back and forth with somebody who's just not listening, who's yelling all the time and screaming, who clearly isn't being serious and taking what we're doing out there as something that's, well, for lack of a better word again, that's serious. And that's why, if that's the word he used, then it's another great word. But you have to make sure first that people are genuine and you're dealing with sensible human beings. You know, people that are actually going to take the time to listen. And even if they don't believe at that point, at the very least, they're listening and they can take something home and maybe they can study when they go back. I've seen it plenty of times. People say, okay, well, I'm not sure now, but I'll do my research. Whether they do it or not, that's up to Yahweh Bashim Yahushua to give the increase. He knows. But we still are supposed to plant this seed. Let's get some more of these. Oh yeah, I used to always bring this one out. Proverbs 17 and 16. Wherefore is there a price in the hand of a fool to get wisdom, seeing he hath no heart to it? A fool doesn't even want to gain wisdom. He's going to increase in his folly. Most people are living that YOLO life, thinking that America's going to keep going the way it is right now. Everything's going to get better. You know, you have this one life and therefore do whatever you want with it. Well, that's a fool. And that man is not going to seek wisdom, because seeking wisdom means that you're interested in prophecy. You want to know what's the future that is to come. And more than likely, when you plant that seed of prophecy in an individual, if it doesn't strike them hard, then come on. I mean, you can kind of tell, all right, I'm dealing with a fool here. I'm dealing with somebody who's not really taking the word of Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai seriously. But at the end of the day, we have to continue to fish and to convince the gainsayer. Let me grab that in the book of Jeremiah 16. Convince those that may come up against the scriptures. Truth be told, when my fleshly cousin Shamashuan, it's obviously in the truth, but Shamashuan told me about this knowledge, it took me 6 months before I came out to the highways and byways. And he didn't really break down too much to me, because when he did tell me, we were at a family function, a little family gathering or whatever, and he was breaking some things down to me, and I was like, oh, okay, cool, that's interesting, sounds good. And 6 months later, the Lord basically had me watch some YouTube videos. I never spoke up against what the brother told me. Um, that wasn't my lot. I didn't do it. I just listened and was like, okay. And then 6 months later, I was looking up Native American history, and I'm a Gadite, and that led me to one video, to another video, then boom, it led me to some brothers out on the highways and byways. So this is Jeremiah 16, verse 16. Behold, I will send for many fishers, saith the Lord, and they shall fish them. And that's what we're doing right now. We're fishing for the elect. A two-thirds is a two-thirds. They're not going to get it. A two-thirds can't be a gainsayer that somehow turns a new leaf. No, there are two-thirds, and that's their lot. So we're fishing for those that are part of the elect, and a part of those that are part of the elect may at first have been a gainsayer. We're going to end off with this. Behold, I will send for many fishers, saith the Lord, and they shall fish them. And after will I send for many hunters, and they shall hunt them from every mountain. The scripture always gets me hyped, because I can't wait for that day. And yes, we are going to physically hunt down those that oppose the will of Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai. Once we gain that power, which is also biblical prophecy, whether you believe it or not, we're going to gain that power through the Lord, and He's going to put His Spirit upon us to do this. It's not going to be up to us. And after will I send for many hunters, and they shall hunt them from every mountain, and from every hill, and out of the holes of the rocks. So with that being said, I do pray that this video was edifying. And remember, convincing the gainsayer is one that's a part of the elect, one that's a part of the 1/3. But of course, remember to be spiritual and to have discernment. That's a key word. Have discernment and know who you're talking to. Is this person sincere, or are we not dealing with, oh, I think he said reasonable. I think that's what he said. Are we dealing with reasonable men, sensible men? You have to consider and use discernment. Call Allah Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai Ba'ashem Rachakodash. Double honors to our apostles and elders of Great Millstone. Peace and blessings to the elect. Shalom.